Hi, I just wanted to say something about id Software's recent layoffs and future. I'm not an insider or anything, just someone who's played their games for a few decades now. After the recent news, what is next for id Software? Well, considering a development cycle of a modern game is, 3 to 5 years, they probably already knew before finishing Dark Ages DLC what their next project was going to be. They probably even started pre-production on it already. So what are they working on? What can we expect? Well, first let's look at what IPs they have. There's Rage. Nobody cares about it. It's not really all the rage. The last one was a mix of Mad Max and Borderlands with safe edgy aesthetics and a mediocre campaign, which is a shame because id and Avalanche made a fun vehicular combat and gunplay. Great potential, but focused on copying Borderlands too much. New Wolfenstein was developed by Machine Games, and we'll see what ZeniMax wants to do with it. They also got Commander Keen, Hexen, Heretic, and of course Quake. Well, more about Quake later. We have to talk about which creative challenges id Software now has to face. They went from trendsetters to trend chasers in recent years. id Software games used to be trendsetters and industry leaders technologically and gameplay and style. I would say that was the case until after Doom 2016, after Tim Willits left, one of the old school Doom and Quake designers. And I think after he left, during the Doom Eternal production, it took a different direction and started copying more of the other popular games like Destiny, Halo, Warframe. And later for the Dark Ages you can see heavy influences of Elden Ring and of course Gears of War. So from trendsetters they have become trend chasers creatively. Of course, idTech engine is still amazing, which is why it's a shock to hear that they fired so many programmers. It's just unbelievable. The engine set them apart from the rest of the industry, but now, due to maximizing profits, they will do transition to Unreal Engine 6? I don't know. So due to loss of identity and originality, and also due to overexposure, I think there's a Doom franchise fatigue that has set in, maybe even after Doom Eternal, with all the Reddit soy boy memes about Doomslayer being badass, on top of the big divide between old Doom and new Doom fans, which was not due to different pace of new Doom. Speed was never the issue. Quake 1 and 3 and Champions movement is very fast. It's about the dumbed down level design, the signposted secrets and lack of any kind of exploration being funneled into a specific gameplay loop and a more cartoonish art style compared to previous entries. And yes, I will say original Doom was cartoonish. Well, yeah, because it had to fit onto a floppy disk. Anyway, so are they low-key working on a live service game similar to Quake, or maybe Quake, or some Doom Online or something? Well, I doubt that. Unlikely, because boomer arena shooters don't seem to be as lucrative for such a large studio, judging by Quake Champions, Splitgate and other similar games. Which is a shame, since Doom 2016 and Champions both have amazing multiplayer. Also Quake Live, great game, but doesn't have a lot of players. I once thought it might be possible for their B team to do a live service game, but since ZeniMax has previously tried to do something like that with Arcane, I don't think that they will repeat that mistake again after what happened to Redfall. Also, neither Doom 2016 or Quake Champions multiplayer were independently developed by id Software. Doom 2016 multiplayer was co-developed with Certain Affinity and Battlecry Studios, and Quake Champions was co-developed or mostly developed by Saber. And judging by layoffs of many programmers, it's hard to think they're developing a live service game. So is it the new Quake? Are they working on a new Quake? I was hoping to see the return to classic Quake at some point, but there are several problems here. At the heart of Quake were always, let's say, three things: complex movement physics, recognizable aesthetics of sci-fi body horror and Lovecraftian horror, and multiplayer. Since movement mechanics of Quake, Quake 2 and 3 and Champions are too complex for a controller, Bethesda or ZeniMax, they want a big cache of all platforms. Maybe not doing full crossplay, but they would definitely want to make it playable on all platforms, including both consoles. It's hard to believe, if a new Quake comes out, that it wouldn't be a dumbed down version of what it once was. That might piss off old school fans who already feel alienated by some decisions made in the previous two games. But if money comes raining down, that won't be a problem for ZeniMax, right? But that's not the main issue. The main issue, I think, is creative. I think id Software have backed themselves into a corner, because Quake has been cannibalized by Doom Eternal and Dark Ages thematically, aesthetically, and even mechanically. And I have no other word than cannibalized. They cannibalized their own IP. They took so much from Quake that if Quake came out directed by Hugo Martin 3 years from now, it would just be another modern Doom. And considering how everything in Doom has been dumbed down and simplified, including level design that once had maze-like exploration and hidden secrets in old Doom and Quake, to what it is now, signposted secrets and levels being a series of square rooms connected by linear hallways with fake platforming. I don't want Quake to be that. Maybe focusing more on space horror and existential dread, body horror, with ambiental soundtrack like called Trent Reznor soundtrack, but physics-defying movement like strafe jumping, bunny hopping, circle jumping, rocket jumping. It needs to run on consoles, and it would either need to be dumbed down, or they would need to have full mouse and keyboard support on consoles, or Microsoft would need to invent a new kind of controller that could play Quake. Movement, or separate movement physics toggles. I don't know, maybe too complicated, but considering how risk-averse these corporations are, it'll probably be a dumbed down version of what it once was, in order to be able to be released on all platforms and playable on a controller. But that's not what I think they're doing. What I think is likely to happen is this: id Software and possibly Obsidian will work on co-developing Fallout 5 under Bethesda's supervision. Bethesda would do the open world, if they still can, and Obsidian would do RPG parts, and id Software would do the shooting mechanics of Fallout 5. I guess technically Arcane could work on Fallout 5 as well, and Elder Scrolls. Imagine Elder Scrolls with Dishonored's first-person combat mechanics. It would be amazing, but again, even Arcane lost so many of their leads, of their important staff. Luckily, Sebastian Mitton, I think, is still there, working at Arcane Leon on a new Blade game, and hopefully they will be allowed to finish it. Hopefully we will also get Dishonored 3. Anyway, I saw Rafael Colantonio was joking about buying Arcane. Was probably a joke, but it would be nice if something like that could happen. Or if, I don't know, John Carmack could buy back id Software. That would be quite funny. Anyway, would that be good if they all worked on Fallout 5 rather than being sold or fired? Like, the worst case scenario would be if ZeniMax just fires them all and keeps the IPs. That would be horrible. So if they end up working on Fallout, at least they have jobs, right? But also then Quake and Doom would remain dormant for next half a decade at least. Also depends if Bethesda will restructure so that leadership can have better communication with the workers and management. I don't know, I might talk about Elder Scrolls in another video, but this is my take. I think id and Obsidian will work on Fallout 5. Maybe I'm wrong, I don't know. Anyway, this is my first video, so if it has some audience I might make more. If you like what you hear, subscribe, comment, even if you dislike, whatever. Tell me I suck dick and ass and pussy and tits. Anyway, that's my take. What do you think?